Welcome to the shed. It's me, your man in the shed, Andy P. Hope you're all well. So, many people are described as world class. You know, you get your footballers, and it's like, oh yeah, so and so is world class, so and so is world class. The definition of world class should mean that you should be able to step into any era and perform in whichever sport or pursuit it is that you do. So, for example, let's take my pal Christian. How you doing, Chris? Hope you're well. As a fireman, should be able to take him from modern day techniques, which are extraordinary. And yeah, I am sort of taking a mickey a bit, Christian, but hey, stick with it. I'm sure Neil and Rocky will enjoy this one. But we should be able to take you from your 2021 fireman skills and put them back into 1891. Now, obviously, the ability of the fireman and the equipment shouldn't be as good. Hopefully, there's hope over the last however many years that is, it's got better. Yeah, I didn't really think about that one. I should have gone 100 years back or 200 years back, but I just picked some random number there. But with your skill set, you should be able to slot quite comfortably into whatever year it was I said and be a fireman. It's the same with football. So you take someone like Pele, who is quite well renowned as the greatest footballer of all time, and he should be able to go from his 1970 Brazil team till the 2021 Manchester City team and still be the star player. Let's be fair, he probably would if he could be the age he was in 1970, but that is another situation. But what we're going to do today is we're going to do it on motorsport. So I do have a few little facts because I don't really know or really watch motorsport, but hey, I've done 3 videos now on it, so let's talk about it. So when you look back at motorsport, you know, it's hard to believe when Michael Schumacher retired that anyone was going to match his 7 world championships. Before Michael Schumacher started, it was hard to believe that anyone would match Juan Fangio's 5 world championships. Well, last season in Turkey, Lewis Hamilton did it, and he became a 7 times world champion. He also took Michael Schumacher's record for the most amount of wins. So I've done 2 motorsport videos. If you haven't seen it, I've done one on Ayrton Senna, who for me is the greatest driver of all time. But again, you know, let's look into this. You know, Ayrton Senna wasn't the most successful racing driver of his time. When he died in 1994, tragically, at Imola, he was 3 times world champion, while at the same time, Alain Prost was a 4 times world champion. So you could argue that Alain Prost was better. And trust me, I've had these in the past, but you know, it's a certain quality that you're looking for. But what we're going to do today is not necessarily look at those qualities, but we're going to look at the stats to say, you know, definitively, Lewis Hamilton is the best driver of all time because the stats say so. But again, going back to my little jibe at Chris earlier, but if as a Formula One driver, would Lewis Hamilton in a 2021 car be able to go back to 2051, so 70 years ago, and 1951, and perform the same? Because let's be fair, the cars were very different. If you want to find out just how different they are, you could go back and watch one of my videos which I released about a month ago on the Le Mans of 1955, and you'll get a few specs there of just how different a modern Formula One car is in regards to safety and the chances of the drivers completing a season. In that video, you get a better idea there. Lots of death, shall we say. But not, to be fair, only one driver. Everyone else was in the crowd. But that's a different story. And that's a story from a different day, not for a different day. Hopefully nothing like that will happen again. So let's have a quick look, see how these, sorry, see how these people compare. So where are we then? So let's start with driver championships. So currently driving still is Lewis Hamilton, who has 7 world titles. Michael Schumacher is equal there with 7. Then, as I say, you go down to Fangio with his 5. Alain Prost and Sebastian Vettel, who is still currently driving, have 4. Vettel getting his all, I think, at the same time for the Red Bull. Then you got a few on 3, the likes of Jackie Stewart, Ayrton Senna, Niki Lauda, Nelson Piquet, and Jack Brabhams. Of course, none of those are currently driving. So in terms of championships, you've got 2 joint successful. If he wins this season, then clearly Lewis Hamilton is the greatest driver of all time, because he'll have 8. And let's be fair, it's like league titles. You could say, oh, but my team's the best team in the world. How many league titles you won? Surely how many league titles you've won over however many years, if it's football, should say, yeah, that team's the best. But then, you go back to the 1980s, in England, Liverpool were the best. In the 90s and the 2000s, it was Man United. Clearly Man United. So in his 4th consecutive title for Lewis Hamilton, having won in 2017, 18, 19 and 20. And then Michael Schumacher won 5 on the bounce, because that in that era, surely he was a little bit better than Hamilton. But also you got to remember, the point systems have changed from when I used to watch it. And also the amount of races. When I was watching it and it was Prost and Senna, it was normally 16 races. Now I think they might do 18, 19, 20. So, that's gone up. Lewis has won 6 in 7 years because he's just great. The only other person I've already mentioned currently driving is Vettel, who is 1 title. So between them, they've got 11 championships. Says a lot about the sport, doesn't it? So Hamilton has won in 3 Grand Prix. What? So if we take a look at the percentages, I could show you this, I suppose. This is as good as it's going to get, I'm afraid, people. But so, when it comes to the percentage of races won, Fangio has a 47% winning streak. So that's basically every other race. He had 51 races. Lewis Hamilton, 36%, 264 races. That's pretty incredible, really, isn't it? It's nearly, it's great. Jim Clark, he had 35% with 42 races. Michael Schumacher, he had 30% from 306 races. So, these are very, very incredible stats. So Lewis has won 94 races. He overtook Michael Schumacher, like I say, last season with his victory at the Portuguese Grand Prix in October. They are head and shoulders above the rest. Vettel is in 3rd place with 53 wins, but the German has not won in the last campaign. It's amazing, really. 4 times world champion. He didn't win last year. Hamilton has won more than 1 in every 3 races. He has participated in his career 96 wins from 246 Grand Prix started. Of all drivers who have taken part in at least 50 Grand Prix, only Fangio is better, which I've already stated. Alain Prost and Senna both won about 1 in 4 of their Grand Prix they took part in. Frenchman Prost records 51 wins from 199 races, while Brazilian legend Senna secured 41 wins from 161 Grand Prix before he was tragically killed in Imola, as I already said. So let's have a look at Hamilton then. How does he actually rank amongst the greats from the past? Grand Prix wins, as I say, he is up there with his 96, Schumacher 91, Vettel 53, like we've already mentioned, and then it's Prost, and then it's Senna, which you've already mentioned. Let's have a look at pole positions then. So Hamilton is clearly way out there as well with 97, Schumacher 68, Senna 65, Vettel 57, and Clark with 33. Fastest lap, so this is a bit different. Schumacher 77, while Lewis only has this 53. But you have to think that the modern cars aren't as quick as the cars from the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. Raikkonen has 46, Prost 41, and Vettel 38. Entire race lead, so there's people who have won from the very beginning. Sort of, it's in the title already, isn't it? Didn't really need to explain that. Hamilton has 22, Ayrton Senna has 19, Vettel 15, Clark 13, and Stewart 11. Then the people who have done hat-tricks. What's a hat-trick, I hear you say? We're not talking football now. So a hat-trick is pole position, race wins, and fastest laps. Schumacher's done 22, Hamilton 18, Clark 11. Then there's the Grand Slams. So Grand Slam is pole position, race win, lead race from start to finish, and the fastest lap. Clark has done 8, Hamilton 6, Schumacher 5. So, you know, it's quite incredible, some of these stats that these people have had. So we're now going to go through Britain's most successful drivers. So we can't really put anyone from the 1980s in there because we didn't win any world titles in the 1980s. But our first world champion was Mike Hawthorn in 1958. Famously won the Le Mans in 1955. If you want to know more about the Le Mans race in 1955, go back and look at my video about Le Mans in 1958. A little plug for myself there. Then, let's be fair, Britain hasn't had many Formula One multiple world champions. We have Graham Hill with 1. Jim Clark, he had 1. No, he didn't. He's had 2. Jim Clark was 2. John Surtees, not sure if I said that right, he's had 1. Jackie Stewart has had 3. James Hunt, Nigel Mansell, Damien Hill, and Jenson Button have all had 1, whilst we then have Lewis Hamilton. Lewis is the only person who has won a championship in 3 different decades as well. Bit of a legend there, Lewis. So, where is Lewis Hamilton's most successful circuit? Well, that'll be in Hungary, where he's won it 8 times. Only Schumacher has also won 8 times at the same Grand Prix, doing so in France. Hamilton has won 7 times in Canada, where he won his first ever race in 2007. This is the thing to remember, when he debuted, he almost won the championship. He lost it by 1 point. But to be fair, he was driving McLaren, which was up there as one of the best cars at the time. He has won more British Grand Prix than any other driver, with 7 wins on his home circuit. Clark and Prost each have 5 victories. Hamilton has finished on the podium in every British Grand Prix since 2014. That's the other thing with modern cars, is just how reliable and how good they are at getting around circuits. He has a great record in China as well, with 6 wins and a total of 9 podium finishes. So we've done his favourite tracks. Let's have a quick look at where he isn't quite so good. So Hamilton has fared badly in Malaysia, recording just a single win. Luckily for him, giving his dismal record there, Malaysia has been removed from the race calendar in 2017. Melbourne has been the land of second places for Hamilton. He has finished behind the leaders in the last 4 Australian Grand Prix, winning only in 2008 and 2015. And Hamilton also struggles in Brazil in the early part of his career, failing to win in any of his first 9 races in Interlagos. He has since recorded 2 wins there in 2016 and 2018. Sorry, excuse me. So yeah, so there's a little look into the career of Lewis. Is he world class? Could you put him back in the 50s and see him winning the race? I think Lewis Hamilton is right up there, probably the greatest driver of all time if you go by the stats. Still prefer Senna personally, but hey, there you go. I think a lot of sport, whatever sport it is, football, cricket, tennis, who knows, who cares? It's down to which era you watched. Because for me, as a football fan more than a sports car fan, for me the best teams, you look at the Manchester United and Arsenal teams of the late 90s, early 2000s. You've got your Invincibles, you've got your triple winners, double winners. They were pretty awesome, and they had a great chemistry, if you like, when they played each other. They could be riotous almost. But yeah, so Lewis Hamilton, greatest driver of all time. Let me know what you think. If you watch this to the end, then great. Thanks for watching to the end. Gonna call it a day there. Hope you're doing well, and hope you enjoyed your little fireman input there, Chris. Obviously, as all firemen do, they're key workers and they do a great job, and thanks for that. See ya, pals.